I fell asleep, woke up, and then was like, I still gotta do perfect pitch. Because I usually don't fall asleep early. And then I was like, oh yeah, I was gonna listen to the other CD. And then I started looking for the other CD, but I'm just gonna have to ask D'Anthony if he saw the other CD. So it's so crazy, you know. Of course, the one CD that I would need to listen to, that it says to specifically listen to, is the one that's somewhere. I might have put it in a drawer or something. It's obviously in the room, just somewhere. So at any rate, hello everybody. We're going to get right into it. And we're going to do perfect pitch, and then I got some other stuff that I gotta do. That I forgot until I woke up I had to do. It's because I just woke up. I took some little Swift Energy gummies, but I couldn't really chew them thoroughly because they're kind of hard. Gosh. Facebook's making me upgrade to its new experience. But it doesn't have all the things that I need. Anyways, just gonna make sure everything's going live. Got my computer here today. Make sure we're live. Make sure we stay live for longer than 3 seconds. Okay. Looks like we're live. Looks like we're live. And I'm gonna pull up the chat. And we're gonna get into it. And okay, delayed reaction, but there it is. Alright. Let's do this thing. First, set an alarm for 1 hour.
Okay, 12:13 a.m. Setting your alarm.
That's so loud. Okay, next, I'm gonna pull up the study app. And all that was saying yesterday was that the study app was going away soon. They're bought by some other company, Chegg, I think, Chegg, and they were going to take over. But all the note cards and everything would still be fine. You just have to log into a whole new system, which will be available for free to all people who already use this app. So I'm not sure about that. Yeah, so Study Blue is going away, but you can still study anytime, anywhere with Chegg Prep. So that's their new thing. I'll do that another time. Let's get into it. First, we're going to see where we're at. We can't listen to the CD, but we can continue reading the book. And I'll put it on my to-do list to ask D'Anthony if he saw said CD and to look in those drawers. You guys can't see the other drawers behind you. I got some weird accent going on right now. D. No, that's A. Already off to a great start, aren't we? B. No, G. Low E? Yeah. Imagine a D note. I have like kind of given up and then gotten there at the last second, but I'm not going to give it to myself. Let me look at the camera. Oh, Keith Montgomery posting them links in the chat. Thank you. Yes. Go ahead, like the Facebook page. And also, if you're watching on Facebook, head on over to YouTube, youtube.com/Botsy. That's BOTSY. You'll see the blue circle, and that's me. If you're on one of the Facebooks, I wonder if it tells you which one. No, but Keith just posted the links in the comments. Thank you, Keith. B. Hey, I got one right. B. Low E? Yes. High E? Note B. Yeah. Imagine an A note. I'm not gonna give it to myself. Imagine a low E note. That one I'll give to me. What note is this? Low E. Yeah. Imagine a G note. Actually, I'll give that to myself. Tim Farrell says, hey girl. Hey Tim. How have you been? A? Yeah, that one's D, of course. Imagine a B note. Oh, I'm not going to give it to myself. D, G. So D, yep. G, B. Imagine a high E note. Yeah, I should have figured I was doing that one wrong. What note is this? Low E, D. Oops, I accidentally saw that one. Would I have gotten it right? Probably not. Yeah, the way it's going tonight, we're just going to mark that wrong. It was a G. But I took the Swift Energy gummy vitamins so that this wouldn't happen. A. Yay. Got it right. As I turned it over, I said the answer, but I wasn't like looking at it. I accidentally flipped that one over. Most likely, though, I would have gotten it right because it was the same as last time, an A. Okay, very careful. I'll say a high E. Yes. Another high E? Yeah. the high E. Yeah. 50%, 12 right, 12 wrong. I could study the wrongs, but I'd rather read the book first. Because that was just bad. And at least wait for my brain to wake up. It's apparently still tired. Okay, so the sour notes syndrome. I'm gonna like semi-dramatically read this. Some musicians argue that they don't want perfect pitch, that such a perfect perception would make them too sensitive. Some say that people with perfect pitch suffer with too good an ear, or that perfect pitch will confuse you if you transpose a score into a new key. Transposing troubles are actually more likely due to poor relative pitch, which can occur even among those with perfect pitch. These objections often expose a deep inner frustration, a sense of inferiority, or a lack of understanding, especially in those who may have desired and failed to uncover the secrets to this mysterious ability. The New Grove Dictionary of Music and Musicians comments on these sorts of notions. Arguments that absolute pitch is out of doubtful to a musician. Oh, that's what it says. Wow. I literally read that wrong like 3 times in a row. Arguments that absolute pitch is of doubtful value to a musician, particularly one engaged in transposition, strike one as if a majority of colorblind people were to tell a minority of normally sighted ones that, even if they wish to be painters, color vision is more trouble than it is worth. In fact, it is less surprising that the few possess it. In fact, it is less surprising that the few possess it than the many are without it. Wow, struggled so much. Other people remain adamant that perfect pitch cannot be developed, but long before the successes of my own students, renowned musicians have said otherwise. Composer and theorist Paul Hindemith wrote that his experience time and again has proved that absolute pitch can be acquired and developed, underscoring his statement by adding that, if not, the question may be raised whether there is any musical gift at all in a mind that cannot learn to remember and compare pitches. The artful quest for perfect pitch. Perfect pitch is a subtle art. If this were not so, everyone would have developed the ability by themselves long ago. Perfect pitch cannot be gained merely by knowing a set of exercises or through any sort of rote recipe. As we shall discover for ourselves in our masterclass sessions, there's a bit more elegance to this training. Many people, without understanding the principles of color hearing, try to force the ability. Some play tones over and over in hopes to memorize them. Others unsuccessfully keep trying to judge how high or low a pitch is. I know because I myself made these same mistakes many years ago. I learned that a pitch will not stick permanently in the mind until you perceive some special quality that distinguishes one pitch from another. That quality is its color. Pitch color is really all in the ear. It does not exist in the objective world. Take the color blue. There's no real difference between blue and red, except that red light vibrates more slowly. The blue color we see is really all in our eyes. Like this, there is no real sound quality difference between F and G. Yet, as we learn to listen more deeply, we begin to detect the color difference. This distinction is really all in our ear, part of our natural inborn gift of hearing. Perfect pitch is not an object, a jewel that can be confiscated by force. It is more like a riddle waiting for the right answer that makes you say, ah. Has it ever happened to you? You muse and fret for hours on a problem and suddenly, in a flash, you realize that the answer is the easiest thing in the world. In these moments, we realize that truth dawns in childlike simplicity. Perfect pitch is rather like this. Perfect pitch is a riddle, but you can't solve the riddle with your mind. Your intelligence, your logic, all the king's horses and all the king's men cannot help you here. Instead, this riddle is for the ear. We're off to a good start. We already have an important clue. Perfect pitch is color hearing. But this is not the final solution. It is not the full perceptual experience. It is merely a signpost that tells us which direction to take. Proper techniques are important, but raw techniques will not work without an artful application. There is a finesse to this training, how to focus and sharpen the ear, and at the same time relax and expand the ear's awareness. Usually these goals are opposites. Here we will accomplish both together by nurturing the ear and coaxing it gently into a brand new style of listening until naturally, of its own accord, the ear opens like a flower. The whole training is simple yet delicate. As you continue with your sessions, you will resonate more and more with the art of it all. Artful listening is the speedway to your success. Remember, every pitch has a color sound. To bring out this hidden dimension out of your perception, you need a few essentials: proper understanding, step-by-step practices, artful listening, and perhaps most important of all, the unassuming innocence of a child. Pitch color and tone color. Tone color, or timbre, is what gives each instrument its special sound. Every piano has a piano timbre, and every guitar has a guitar timbre. Timbre tells you what instrument you're hearing. Each family of instruments has its own timbre, its own distinct flavor, its own tonal color. It's easy to tell a violin from a saxophone, isn't it? Every violin has the stringy, tonal color of a violin. Timbre makes a tone mellow, rich, thin, stringy, brassy, reedy, hollow, etc. Any such quality that characterizes the sound of an instrument. Within each family of instruments, every individual instrument also has its own unique timbre. For example, a $100 violin will doubtfully possess the rich tone color of a priceless Stradivarius. What gives a tone its tone color, or timbre? Timbre is caused by a unique pattern of overtones that occur when a tone is sounded. Overtones are faint tones produced when a basic pitch is sounded. Take a piano, for example. When a string is sounded, it vibrates back and forth, right? But did you know that each string also vibrates halves, thirds, fourths ad infinitum? These subtler vibrations cause faint overtones. So when you play C, you're not just playing C. Countless overtones are also sounded, and you can hear some if you listen closely. Overtones can differ slightly from these exact pitches. They can even occur in between two tones, as indicated. And he shows a whole staff here, different things. I don't know if you can see it too clearly unless I come up to the camera. Which I suppose I should stop being lazy and go up to the camera then. And there you go. That right there. Try this experiment on any instrument. Oh, okay. Looks like we have an experiment to try. Oh no, there was another thing I was supposed to find. The picks. I saw them. I really did see them. And then I don't know where they went, but this microphone picks things up pretty well. So I'll just strum with my finger. But I just rearranged my room, and I haven't really had a chance to look through everything. We'll just use my finger and strum. You guys see that? Might need to move over. You move over here. There you guys go. Yeah, you guys should be able to hear that. I can see the bar goes up when depending on sound, so. So if I try to strum loudly, it won't be as good as with a pick, but it'll do. First, let's make sure it's in tune. That's right, there's no TikTok on Justin's phone. So we'll just do it with the tuner. Of course, orange means it's in stasis. Red, like that, means that it's too sharp and too high. We don't like things in red whatsoever, because I once popped the E string. The high E string. It's still very dramatic for me. Just kidding. And green, that's where we like to be. So it's like almost right. It's too much. It's very, very delicate. See, and then it's way too low, of course. There we go. That's right where I want you. A little bit more. There we go. Now. There you go. Looking good, D. Just a little bit more. I apparently do a lot of, or my brain does a lot of accents when it's tired. I know I shouldn't try to get it perfect, but it's so close. It annoys me that it just won't stay there. Okay. Oh. Alright, fine. There. Alright, you can stay right around there if you want. You are like right there. Yeah, that's what I thought. Aren't I tightening it? Apparently not. There you go. Jeez. Okay, see, that's what we like. Hi, of course you'd give me trouble. Almost. Oh. Okay. That's good enough. Okay, good. Now we're ready to try what it's going to say. It says, once again, I'm sorry I don't have the pics, but I swear I saw them. And I was like, okay, good. And then, yeah. Try this experiment on any instrument. Using C as a starting point. C, there's no C on a guitar. I mean, there probably is, but I don't know where the C is on a guitar. Play the G that is 11 scales tones higher. Listen to this G and get this pitch in your ear. What is a C on a guitar? Is that a chord?
Chord U. So you take your third finger, put it on the third fret of the low E string. Second finger goes on the second fret of the A string, and your pinky stretches all the way down here to the third fret of the high E string, and you let the other strings ring out, and it sounds like this. All right, so that's C and G. Let's move on to learning new chords. Let's start with...
I don't have to play a whole chord. Okay, hold on. Easy ways to play C. Its full name is C major, but most of the time people call it C. It looks like this. My preferred version of C chord for beginner guitarists is called C major 7. It looks like this, where you're just kind of doing this and, yeah. As you can see, this requires 2 fingers, so it's easier to play. The golden rule when playing major C during your first 4 to 6 hours of playing guitar, it's best to play C major 7 shown exactly as above. Okay, but once you have 6 to 10 hours under your belt, then you can do the other ones, says this article. Okay. Well, how would you hold down a chord that you're not a thing that you're not even playing? I must have looked at the wrong. Oh, because you're not. You're holding these two. Okay. That would make more sense. Okay, so you're doing this one. Well, this one seems a bit more complicated. And there's several ways to play C, is that it? Okay. I guess we'll go with the simpler version. But then I still need to know. Oh, there's a one finger version. It has all the same notes as the more common version, but the sound isn't quite as rich or full. Well, I guess we need to play the richer, fuller version. Fine. Oh, okay. I had it wrong anyways when I listened to the thing, but there might be different ways to play it, so. But we'll do this one. Oh, and then you're supposed to switch your pinky, right? No. Pointer. Why does it always say your pinky then? Okay. Play the G that is 11 scale tones higher. Using C as a starting point, okay? Play the G that is 11 scale tones higher. And what would that be? G 11 scale tones higher than C on guitar. Let's see if I can find this exact thing. No. Okay, let's try this. Okay, nothing has 11 scale tones higher in it in the whole internet. I guess let's try Bing. Let's look at this guy. Oh, he's using some HTML video, which our browser does not recognize. Wow. A guitar scale pattern is a simple visual representation of the fretboard. Okay. Yeah, got that. Guitar learns scale patterns for things including parts of a scale guitar pattern. I don't think this is what I'm looking for. This might be what I'm looking for. No. I have no clue how to do this experiment on a guitar. So we're just gonna move on. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna skip that part. Let's see, okay. It is the presence, absence, and relative strength of overtones, and where they occur, that creates the tone color of an instrument. A rich sound is due to a rich abundance of overtones. The human voice, for instance, is rich with overtones. A tuning fork, on the other hand, has essentially no overtones. Figure 2 shows a sound wave of pure tone, with no timbre. It's just a simple sine wave. Figure 3 shows the sound wave of piano. The complex overtones of the piano show up as fluctuations within the basic sine wave pattern. Every musical instrument has a unique wave pattern, a fingerprint of sound, that lets you identify an instrument by ear. Actually, the term tone color is a bit imprecise. To me, qualities like brassy, reedy, stringy, etc. are not really colors. They are more like tonal textures. Color is more correctly linked to pitch. Every pitch has its own color sound. Every pitch has its own color sound, which is determined by its pitch. Pitches are specific colors that can wear many different textures. Picture this. A woman can wear a beautiful red dress, but the dress could be woven of any fabric, silk, cotton, rayon, each with a different weave or texture. Yet the color of the dress is red in each case, right? Similarly, F sharp has a definite sound color, which can be woven into the tonal texture of a guitar or an oboe. But whatever the instrument, the pitch still has the color sound of F sharp. Make sense? Just remember, color tells us the pitch, timbre tells us the instrument. Because musicians are inherently poetic, we lyrically use the word color throughout our music vocabulary. In addition to tone color, color can also refer to harmonic texture, melodic disposition, dynamics, register, ornamental and interpretive devices, and the general character of a work. Color is a unit of melodic repetition in the French, Ars Nova music of the 14th century. All these uses of color are liberal redefinitions of a word that also has a definite meaning in physics, a quality that allows us to recognize specific wave frequencies. Some people may complain that we have added yet another definition of color to an already overcrowded list. Yet our term pitch color is exactly that, the unique color sound of a specific pitch frequency. Therefore, it seems to me that perfect pitch music theory should have highest dibs on the word color. 5. Color hearing and color association. Since the dawn of musical history, man has associated visual colors to notes, tonality, tempo, scale degree, register, timbre, harmonic texture, compositions, and even the entire works of some composers. In the 4th century BC, Aristotle pondered on a relationship between visual color and music in his De Sensu. In the 17th century, Sir Isaac Newton mathematically correlated the prismatic colors red through violet with the scale tones C, D, E flat, F, G, A, and B flat with an 8 through A, C, scale in the Dorian model, or the Dorian mode. Beethoven, Liszt, Schubert, Scriabin, Rimsky-Korsakov, MacDowell, and other composers have expressed direct associations of musical tones and/or keys with visual color. And the impressionistic paintings of Claude Debussy evoke a visual counterpart in many a listener's mind. In color psychology and color therapy, Faber-Baron noted, among other composers, Liszt is credited with several pet phrases. More pink here. This is too black. I want it all azure. Beethoven called B minor the black key. Schubert likened E minor unto a maiden robed in white and with a rose-red bow on her breast. To Rimsky-Korsakov, sunlight was C major and F sharp was strawberry red. This feeling of color associated to musical tones is a form of synesthesia, a synergy between the senses of hearing and sight. Synesthesia could also involve a smell, a taste, or a tactile feeling when listening to music. Color association is highly subjective. None of these composers associated visual colors to music in precisely the same way as another. Scriabin labeled A major as a yellow key, whereas Rimsky-Korsakov felt it to be rose-colored. The musical terms sharp and flat also seem to connote brightness and somberness in our minds, as they do when used in non-musical contexts. For example, F sharp is more often associated with a bright color, while G flat, the very same pitch, is more often thought of as a darker hue. The musician and the artist seem to feel an irresistible and mystical unity between the senses of hearing and sight, even the languages of the two are replete with related expressions: color, tone, chromatics, pitch, shading, brightness, intensity, volume, etc. One of the earliest references to a formal coordination of visual and musical art was by Louis Bertrand de Castel in his La Musique en Couleurs, 1720. Arthur Bliss wrote a symphony with each movement named after a color. And Russian composer Alexander Scriabin scored a colored light fantasia to accompany Prometheus, the Poem of Fire, 1910, the prelude for light shows and rock concerts to come. For college art class, I wrote a term paper that compared visual colors with musical tones. Incredibly, I did not have any research references. Instead, I wrote what I thought. Yet my teacher was so taken by the comparison that he gave it an A+, and made a copy for his permanent records. The point is, whatever our fascination between color and music, color hearing and color association are completely separate issues. Perfect pitch does not rely on color association in order to recognize tones. You do not have to think of F sharp as red, unless of course you want to. Instead, we will learn how to hear the absolute pitch colors of tones, colors that are heard, not seen. Perfect pitch and singing. To sing in perfect tune and stay on key without any accompaniment requires three things. 1. Perfect pitch. 2. Control. And 3. Attention. We'll get to these points in a minute. But first, it always amuses me when people think that just because you have perfect pitch, you must be a great singer. Ha! That's a good one. I can't tell you how many times this happened to me. A friend introduces me to someone, and when perfect pitch is mentioned, I'm all ears, waiting for the new person to tell me, "Oh, I'd really love to hear you sing. You should see their faces. You should see their face change when I oblige." Perfect pitch is in the ear, not in the vocal cords. It may sound ironic, but having perfect pitch does not automatically make you a great singer. For this, a vocal instructor is your guardian angel. You could have the best ear in the world and a really lousy voice. Mrs. Vinograd hated it whenever I said the word lousy. She said it was a lousy word. Speaking of Mrs. V, that's the teacher that he gave the tribute to in the beginning. I remember times at my weekly piano lessons when she would be paging through music, singing triumphantly all the way. Sure, she'd start off in the correct key, always, but soon she had traversed several tonalities in just as many lines. Typically, she would emphasize the dramatic forte parts by going 4 keys sharp. The quiet, somber phrases would sag and pitch accordingly. It was great fun to listen to. But don't get me wrong. You couldn't slip a wrong note past Mrs. V. She had impeccable perfect pitch. She'd catch you. Not only did she know the wrong tone you played, but she knew what it should have been. But a singer she wasn't, bless her heart. My friend Richard, a fellow V student with perfect pitch, wasn't given any vocal concerts either. We won't mention yours truly. So you may ask, how could people with perfect pitch possibly sing out of tune? And how could they drift flat? Wouldn't they hear it? Well, don't stay in tune. Well, keep in mind that to sing in perfect pitch, you need perfect pitch, control, and attention. Here's what I mean. With perfect pitch, you can think of any tone at any time, so you always know your starting pitch. So far, so good. But you must also have vocal control. Otherwise, the voice could waver, even while singing a single tone. Good control comes naturally to many people, others require more training. In college, a voice major friend gave me lessons. I applaud her for giving it her best shot. If you have perfect pitch and your voice wavers or you sing a little out of tune, of course you can hear it. But if you're not a singer, you get used to it. Which brings us to a point that many people don't realize. Perfect pitch doesn't mean that you always keep track of pitches as you sing. If you don't pay attention to the pitches, you can drift sharply or flat. You can drift sharp or flat just like anyone else. Sure, at any time, if you want to check yourself, you can easily hear, oh, I'm going flat. But that's only when you choose to listen to the pitch level. Pitch level is one of many things going on in the music simultaneously. So it all depends on where you place your focus on at any given time. Do you see this point? Perfect pitch is not a computer-generated pitch correction module that automatically tracks your voice anytime you open your mouth. It's a more artistic skill than that. You can stay on pitch, but you have to pay attention. Now, for a singer with all three together, perfect pitch, great control, and attention to the pitch, there's a match made in heaven. Barbra Streisand comes to mind. Pavarotti. Perfect pitch is the best thing that can happen to a singer because, like violinists, a singer actually creates each and every pitch from scratch. There are no little piano keys in the vocal cords, each with a predetermined tone. In fact, a singer constantly expresses microtonal variations of a pitch. Imagine a singer who never deviates from the absolutely correct pitch. It would sound so artificial. But it takes a great ear to hear how to bend a tone artistically, and great control to do so. This is why a great sense of pitch, both perfect pitch and relative pitch, is especially important for singers. A singer sings only as well as he or she hears. So remember, perfect pitch does not automatically bestow upon you a great voice. You also need your own vocal fluency, and you've got to pay attention to what you're doing. Perfect pitch gives you 1/3 of this magic formula. The other 2 parts are up to you. And one more point for singers. Some singers develop a pseudo-perfect pitch that relies on vocal tension. By becoming familiar with your vocal range, you can learn to judge a pitch by how much vocal tension is required in order to sing it. Some people can become quite accurate with this, but it's not fully reliable due to varying vocal conditions throughout the day. We've all experienced how low and gruff our early morning voice can be. Sometimes we talk a minor third lower and can sing tones that are impossible to reach during the day. This ability to estimate pitches, vocal tension pitch, is rarely accurate enough to be mislabeled as perfect pitch. And it does not involve pitch color discrimination. For true perfect pitch, we have to listen and develop our color ear. Well, I think this is definitely eye-opening to all me things I've gone wrong with. At some point or another, every musician wants a better ear. From church organists to jazz pianists to self-taught rock guitarists, everybody tries to pick up music by ear and wants a shortcut. But beware, there are no shortcuts to personal musical growth, only wise paths. Music majors must complete 2 to 4 years or more of ear training classes. Why? Because schools know that success in music depends on the ear. My personal thought is that half of all music theory should be devoted to ear training. What good is theory if you can't hear it? And with ear training, half should be devoted to perfect pitch, the other half to relative pitch. Relative pitch translates the sounds you hear into a clear musical picture. Without relative pitch, music is like watching a fuzzy TV, a jumble of unknown tones and chords that you do not fully understand. With relative pitch, all those tones come into focus. So you get the sharp detail of what's happening. Perfect pitch then brings the music to life by adding color to your musical TV picture. Without relative pitch, the ears hear only a blurred impression of music, the details are lost. With relative pitch, you hear the clear musical picture. Take note. Relative pitch without perfect pitch gives you a clear picture, but only in black and white. Perfect pitch without relative pitch is like having a great color TV that's not properly focused. You can name pitches, colors by ears, but you may not have a clear picture of what's going on. This is why perfect pitch and relative pitch work best together. With both abilities permanently established in your awareness, you have a fully focused color TV, the complete musical picture, the ultimate ear for success. What is relative pitch? Relative pitch is the ability to understand and communicate in the language of music. When you know any language well, you are able to more fully express the finer feelings and ideas you want to convey. Music is a universal language. Most everyone in the world can appreciate music, but not everyone can speak the language of music fluently. Not everyone can play, sing, or compose. The more fluent you become in your knowledge of the musical language, the more your talents unfold within you. Your ear holds the master key to all your talents. Even with divine inspiration, only your ear can guide you to create music or perform music that penetrates straight to the heart of the listener. Relative pitch is a refined ear for music. We can call it relationship hearing or pitch pattern hearing, the ear's ability to read the musical language. Here I do not mean the ability to read sheet music, that's a different subject. Instead, I mean the ability to understand tones and chords, the letters and words of the musical language by ear. How does relative pitch work? When any two tones are played, a relationship occurs between them. You hear it as a specific pattern of sound, or interval. There are 21 basic intervals in music, each with its own name and sound. So why bother to learn the sound of musical intervals? Well, intervals are the raw building blocks of all melodies. Intervals are also the building blocks of all chords. In fact, intervals are the building blocks of all music. Learning intervals by ear is our standing point on the road to relative pitch. The most difficult interval to learn to sing is the augmented fourth, the so-called devil in music, strictly taboo in early Christian chants. Also called the diminished fifth, we can easily overcome this devil with relative pitch ear training. When you study relative pitch, you learn how to construct every possible kind of chord, and how to recognize all chords by ear, with a sense of how chords progress and relate to each other. Relative pitch is a process of building a tonal catalog or sound library of every interval and chord, all within your mental awareness, which you can draw from and use anytime you perform or compose. People often confuse perfect pitch and relative pitch. Many times musicians tell me, I have a really good relative pitch, but it's not quite perfect. The truth is, perfect relative pitch can never become perfect pitch, and perfect pitch cannot sub for relative pitch. Each is a completely separate ability with its own universe of powers and skills. And they are complementary. Like the two hemispheres of your brain, they work together. To illustrate, let's take our sample chord again. With your relative pitch, you can hear this is a major 7th chord. We now know half the information about this chord, but which major 7th chord is it? B major 7th, A flat major 7th, C major 7th? Here's where your perfect pitch comes to the rescue. With color hearing, you know you're hearing a D chord. So putting the information together, we now hear that we have a D major 7th chord. Perfect pitch tells you that it's a D. Relative pitch tells you it's a major 7th chord. Always remember, only perfect pitch can tell you D, and only relative pitch can tell you major 7th. See how they're great team players? Perfect pitch tells you exact tones. Relative pitch tells you the quality of the tones you hear. Major, minor, dominant, sharp 5, etc. Simply put, relative pitch lets you understand the tones you hear. If someone with perfect pitch says he can identify a dominant 7th flat 5 chord, he is not really doing that with perfect pitch. That is his relative pitch speaking. Perfect pitch tells you each tone in a chord, but not the kind of chord. This is the domain of relative pitch. Now you can see why, contrary to popular belief, perfect pitch should not be considered superior to relative pitch. Is this... Did Justin just come on? Something connected. Okay, well this is still connected, so... Relative pitch tells you how all the tones fit together intelligently to create this effect we call music. Actually, it is your relative pitch that unlocks a chord, so you can clearly hear all tones in the chord or follow fine harmonies in a song. Remember, skills having to do with the clear musical picture are skills of relative pitch. Pitches, when considered individually, cannot be called music. It is the relationship between tones, the interaction of notes, that creates this effect we call music. While perfect pitch is the only way to master exact tones by ear, only relative pitch gives you the sense of music in motion. This is why relative pitch is essential for speed recognition of tones. To illustrate, let's pretend that each page of this handbook is a different color. With a good visual color sense, you can name the color of any page. But now let's say I flip quickly through all the pages of this book. And I ask you to name all 80 colors. Can you do it? Of course not. No one can see and name 80 colors that fast. It's too confusing. Yet there's nothing wrong with your color vision. Perfect pitch lets you identify any tone you hear, C, C sharp, D, etc. But there's a physical, or is it mental, limit as to how fast you can hear pitch colors. This is where relative pitch comes to the rescue. For speed recognition of music in motion, relative pitch is a must. Relative pitch groups the letters of the musical alphabet into words and phrases that you can understand. In other words, relative pitch groups the raw notes you hear into interval chords and progressions that you can easily hear and follow. Now you can see why only relative pitch gives you the speed recognition of tones in motion. It's really hard to say where perfect pitch leaves off and relative pitch begins. The truth is they simply work together. Sometimes you catch the color of a tone, other times the relationship comes more into play. But wherever your attention goes, you get the total music picture in full color and in full focus. This is why we say again and again, perfect pitch and relative pitch together make the ear 4 times as powerful as either ability separately. When you train your ear daily with both perfect pitch and relative pitch, you'll find that each opens your ear in a unique way. It's like working out both the right and left hemispheres of your brain. Together, they help each other grow quickly into a dynamic wholeness of your experience. 8 levels of perfect pitch. As you develop perfect pitch, your ear progresses through several stages that indicate your progress. Let's consider each step towards fully established perfect pitch. Level 1. Color awareness. The first stage of perfect pitch is when you become aware of colors of pitch. When you know how to listen, as we have discussed in our master classes, you can experience your first taste of these colors immediately. Most people begin to hear right away. If not, then we never force. Instead, we allow the ear to relax, and soon you will naturally begin to notice little differences in the tones. Color awareness is not a clear experience of pitch color. It is just a first taste. It's an innocent and undeveloped stage when the ear first starts to pick up on this new and abstract experience, similar to a child who begins to notice visual colors but can't yet label them. More listening is required to get to the next level. Level 2. Color discrimination. The basic level of true perfect pitch. When your color awareness matures into color discrimination, your ear can identify the tones of your own familiar instrument. Level 3. Refined color discrimination. When your ear has become quite familiar with each pitch color, it begins to sense color variations within each single tone. so you can tell if a tone is sharp or flat. When a tone is sharp or flat, it starts to take on the color of its neighboring tone, just as red melts into red-orange, before arriving at orange. If a flat F is sounded, the ear with refined color discrimination will hear it as colored, somewhat with the sound of E. This experience is not a matter of judging whether a tone sounds higher or lower than it should. Instead, you actually hear that the color of the sound has shifted. If this doesn't make any sense, don't worry, you'll experience it for yourself in Masterclass 24. Mozart used his refined color discrimination to evaluate the violin pitches in the story we told earlier. Level 4. Universal color discrimination. Pitch color is almost always best experienced on your most familiar instrument. A guitarist, for example, may be able to identify pitches easily on the guitar, but he may be unable to identify tones on a flute. This surprising situation can be very striking. You have fully developed perfect pitch on your own instrument, yet you seem helpless with all other musical pitches. For some odd reason, your ear cannot locate the pitch colors on other instruments. What causes this phenomenon? What veils the pitch color in another instrument? Timbre is the culprit. Let's recall that timbre, tone color, is the textural form that a pitch takes. It is the quality of sound that gives each instrument its own identity, its individual fingerprint of sound. Okay, we will finish this section. So I'm here. I'm going to read to here. Now, once again, remember, I've already listened to the CDs for these, so I'm just going over it again. And honestly, I think it's a lot easier to understand once you've been practicing forever. Well, I mean, it's not been forever, but it feels like forever. Okay. Let's recall that timbre, tone color, is the textural form that a pitch takes. It is the quality of sound that gives each instrument its own identity, its individual fingerprint of sound. When your ear learns pitches on your familiar instrument, it is not confused by timbre because the timbre remains constant. You are intimately familiar with the sound of your own instrument, so timbre is not an issue. Let's say a pianist is learning pitch colors on the piano. All the tones on his piano have the timbre of a piano, obviously. This timbre on the surface level of hearing, anyone can tell a piano by its sound. Our pianist's ear becomes accustomed to the surface value of the tones and gradually settles into hear the deeper pitch colors. Once he can hear the pitch colors clearly, the result is color discrimination, perfect pitch on the piano. Now bring in a new instrument and see what happens. Our pianist, who is listening so deeply to the tones, suddenly hears a new timbre on the surface level of his perception. The moment his attention goes to the surface, he loses the more abstract experience of pitch color at a subtler level. See how it works? But don't worry. The ear soon learns to dive back into the sound to again hear the pitch colors. Each new sound is more easily mastered than the last, until finally, it makes no difference what new sound comes to the ear. All pitch colors are clearly perceived through the disguises of many different timbres. This is universal color discrimination, the ability to recognize pitches universally, regardless of timbre. A side benefit also comes to the musician with universal color discrimination. When timbre no longer hides the pitch colors, it means your ear has learned to sort out the pitch color from the tone color. That gives you 1, greater pitch color discrimination, and 2, your side benefit, a greater sense of timbre discrimination. This is when you'll really start to notice that you can recognize the voices on the phone and pick up foreign accents. The ear becomes highly alert. The following equation describes this level of universal color discrimination. Refined color discrimination level 3 plus refined timbre discrimination equals universal color discrimination level 4. Here is an example of how development of perfect pitch extends even beyond the scope of musical talent. Okay, so we are going to stop here. I've got my mission to find that other CD. And the picks. said the room was just rearranged. But thank you, bots, for joining me so much on my perfect. Wow, I think I said that wrong. Yeah. Thank you, bots, for joining me on my perfect pitch journey, and I will see you tomorrow.